Well, good morning, Jade. So nice to see you. How are you?
Good morning. I am really well, really well. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about food fears because it's one of the biggest barriers to HA recovery. And as always, I'm excited to be in your company.
Yeah, me too. And so I'm really excited about talking fear foods, food rules, because as you said, it's such an important part of the HA recovery process. But first of all, Jade, I don't know if you know that already. And there is something that I want to share with you because I received a message just before I jumped on this live. Um, Someone from our program got their period back last night.
I know. I woke up to the message this morning and I was going to message you first thing. And I thought, oh, maybe she hasn't told you yet. And of course, you always want to be the person who tells the people
Yeah.
you're working with. So I didn't want to be a spoiler. But yes, I know. I would love to say I can't believe it, but I can believe it. Of course I can believe it because she put in
I,
all the transformation is huge, absolutely huge. And oh my goodness, just warmed my heart so much
yeah,
first thing this morning.
it was
Beautiful.
beautiful. And I sent her a message and I said, oh, well, I'm actually in the bathroom getting ready for the live and I'm here crying because I saw your message.
Oh, I know.
Plus, it's full moon as well, so that doesn't help my emotional side. But I was so excited, especially because she was on week 8 of the program. So she was almost getting graduated for the program.
Yeah.
And there we
And
go.
perfect timing.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy, and I wanted to actually share that with you also on a live conversation because that goes to show that what we do is actually really working, and it's a great reminder for me as well that it's what we do is shit changes lives.
Oh, and the thing is, if you saw her at the start of the program and even now, she's just got this radiant glow about her that's not
Mm.
just, a physical health, it's like her actual energy is shifted. She literally is happy and glowing and it's just it's amazing. And I'm sure she's going to share her story on the HA group. Well, at least I hope she does because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Looking forward to it. We need to have her on your podcast and also
Yes.
on a live on a group if I make that work. Okay,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
without further ado, let's start talking about food rules and fear foods because otherwise, I know the two of us, we're going to talk about this person
Everything.
for the rest of the show. Everything and anything. So, going back to food rules, especially if you have a past history with eating disorders and if you're suffering from hypothalamic amenorrhea and disorder eating behaviors, I'm pretty sure that you have developed some food rules. Some of them you may not even define them as rules. Maybe you don't even know them, you have not acknowledged them, but it's very normal for someone like we were, for someone suffering from disorder eating behaviors, to actually develop these food rules and to hold certain beliefs around what we should and shouldn't do around food. So just to come up with an example, for some women is I don't have to eat carbs after 7 p.m. We have read it in so many magazines, right? For some reason, carbs after 7 p.m., they become like gremlins, dangerous. And or something else is intermittent fasting. So
Mm.
in the morning you don't need to have breakfast if you want to lose weight. And there are so many of these rules. Some that we have read on a magazine, some of them we have learned them by talking to our mothers, to our parents, to a dear
Mhm.
friend. Some of them we have completely made them up. And it does make sense because if you're in this situation, it's very likely that you don't trust your body. And so you come up with this rule to gain this sense of control, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, this control feels very empowering and useful in the very beginning, but it doesn't last long. And this control, as I said before, it's actually a limiting belief, and and it's kind of a lie that we keep telling ourselves. And the best thing that we can actually do is to acknowledge our fear foods and food rules. So a great exercise for all of the women listening to this podcast videos, live, whatever you want to call it. Very confused this morning.
To us, listening to us.
Thank you, Jade. Um, it's just to write them down. Write down all your food rules, all your fear foods, and maybe it's gonna look quite overwhelming, but it's very important to know them all. So then you can start tackling them one by one, tick, tick, tick. I acknowledge this rule. Now I can dismantle it, I can break it down, I can challenge it, and then I can move forward. And the same with the fear foods. And plus, always ask yourself, not eating this food, following this rule, is it helping my relationship with others or is it actually limiting my relationship? Would I ask my daughter to follow this rule? Would I ask my best friend to follow this rule? And also, this rule, is that real or is it just something that someone has made up or I made up myself? And let me ask you, Jade, when you went through your own recovery process, did you have some food rules or some foods that you really feared at the beginning of the process?
Oh, look, even as you ask that question, it's been years and my heart still races and I just feel emotion overflow because when I look back now, I still struggle with how many rules I did have and justified them in the pursuit of health. So yes, in short, absolutely, I did have food rules. They started very innocently when I was doing a bodybuilding like comp prep. So minimum calories, high quality, so chicken, veggies, all that sort of thing. And then my food rules slowly morphed. So soon it become so I guess I had little loopholes. If things fit in my 1200 calories, even if it was a bit of chocolate or ice cream, I was still okay with it because it was under 1200. Then it soon morphed into, sugar's the devil, so I can't have ice cream and then I can't have chocolate. And then over time, I ended up bulimic and soon a lot of food, healthy or not, the idea of it being in my stomach disgusted me so much that I'd go and throw it up. And sometimes it come from a place where I just had a humongous binge and obviously that's a process. And other times it wasn't a binge. It was literally a handful of food and it just set me over the edge and I couldn't handle it being in my stomach. And that was some of me testing my food fears. And that's why I guess you do need a little bit of structure and guidance when it comes to testing your food fears, because sometimes the emotional response is really strong. Like I haven't done these things in a long time, but still when I talk about it, my hands tremor because the emotion's still real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, I can go and eat cake and all those sorts of things whenever I want now, and I can eat salads whenever I want now, and I don't have that, but that's how emotional things can be. Like years on, you still have blocks about it. And then I got over my bulimia and I was eating a whole range of foods when I started CrossFit because that was in the community. You've got a fuel to train, and I loved that. But then I started getting into fasting. And in hindsight, I think the reason I did that was because I justified that I could eat those calorie dense foods because I hadn't eaten for so long. So it was just another trick that I'd created. And I used to always go for lunch with my mum on a Saturday morning, always. Brunch. And then I started fasting. And I remember saying to her, like, oh, can we shift brunch back just a couple of hours? Because I'm not due to eat yet. And she was like, oh, but what do you mean? We've always done that. And I remember being like, yeah, but I'm fasting now. Like, that's what I'm doing. It's healthy. And I think she accommodated maybe an hour. And that was all she gave me because she knew that I was up to no good once again. And the fasting went from, 12 hours to 16 hours to 20 hours. And I remember I had one weekend where I went out and had a few drinks. And honestly, I had the best time. I had so much fun. I danced and just forgot about all the rules. Like it was fabulous. And then I woke up Monday morning and decided not to eat for 4 days. I did a 4-day fast. And I told myself that was a detox and it was the right thing to do. And honestly, I had never had issues with drinking at all. Like if I went out for a couple of drinks, it was fine. Never bothered me. But for whatever reason, I decided that would be a great idea to just fast for 4 days. And I remember feeling so proud about it. I was like, yeah, I'm not eating for 4 days. This is awesome. Weight was dropping off me because, well, I kept training and obviously you're not meant to train when you do fasts like that. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, girl, deep down, you did that 4-day fast because you felt a bit heavy Monday morning and you wanted it off. like but I told myself at the time like that was necessary, and not even necessary, it was healthy. It was such a great thing to do, like my digestion rest. Oh man, I could honestly go on for hours about all of the rules and habits I created in the pursuit of honoring my health and my body. And that's what
And,
I told myself. And
and
whatever you think, you believe.
thank you for sharing that. And while you were talking, I was actually giggling and laughing, and not because I found it funny. I didn't find it funny at all, but that's just my reaction to when something, when I can feel the pain of another person. And while you were sharing this story, I actually felt your pain because, as you said, it's not really the big thing. Yeah, of course, is also the big thing of food impacting your life and so on and so forth, and having all these behaviors. But it's also the simple things in life, like brunch with your mom. You have always gone for brunch with your mom every single Sunday or Saturday that may be. And then all of a sudden you have to postpone it by 2 hours, which in hindsight doesn't make any difference, simply because you are so
100%.
focused on that and so obsessed by your behaviors. And I remember that for me, well, I have very similar stories. For example, the biggest one was birthday cake. I have 2 kids, so the idea of celebrating their birthday should be a joy. I would work myself up to a point that I couldn't even eat the day before my daughter's birthday because I was so afraid of having that piece of cake. And obviously now I know better. But back then it was a real fear. And also, if for people that are listening to us, I would like to normalize this. I think that we have said it before, but some people, they are scared of spiders. Some people are scared of heights. And if you have an eating disorder or disorder eating behaviors, food is a real fear. And something that I actually started doing at the beginning of my HA recovery process, after listing out my food rules, was also starting to list down all the food goals, because I was trying to shift the mindset from what I'm not allowing myself to have, but where would I like to go? And I love that because I came across that list just a few days ago and I thought, oh man, I reached all my food goals. That's amazing. And so, and it was like such a pat in the back, Claudia. You actually did it. And but it doesn't take only a couple of days, does it, Jade? It's actually a very long process.
It takes so much time. And the thing is, often healing one food fear leads into a new disordered eating habit. Like if I go through my timeline of all the fears that I had and all the disordered eating habits that I had and disordered eating disorders, that flick back and forth, remedying one led to another, because it's like, well, to compensate for this, now I need to do this, and to do that, now I need to do this. And now, well, if I'm having my digestion work heaps on having a high fat diet, I better let it rest some, so I better intermittent fast. And for the most part, it does come from a place of love, which makes it hard because you think you're doing the right thing. And that's why I love how you suggested writing down a list of all these rules that you've got. And look, potentially, if you're sitting here listening to this going, oh, I don't have any rules, like it's really natural and organic for me to eat, all I would suggest you do is explore different social events where if someone had to pick your food for you, given you're not allergic to it or intolerant to it, would you easily be able to eat it at any time of the day, regardless of what kind of food it is? Or would you have some apprehension of, oh, it's past 7, or, oh, but at 6 a.m, I only have coffee for breakfast, or, oh no, I don't eat cake, or it could even be chicken, for goodness sakes, but it's got breadcrumbs on it. Like it doesn't have to be this overwhelming fear. But if you're sitting there listening to this going, oh, I don't have any of that, like I just make good choices that I love, just entertain the thought of being in a position where you might feel uncomfortable about food, and what does that look like and why. So that continuation of the list that Claudia suggested is why is it a fear? Why are you uncomfortable to eat it? What could happen? How could it happen? Is this real? Is it made up? Just, what you said about the birthday cake too, Claudia, it's such an overwhelming thing, even in that position, because you're sitting there going like, it's my daughter's birthday and I'm so excited. And all I can think about is the idea of eating this cake. And whether you're a mother, a sister, an auntie, a best friend, it's really hard to be in that position where you just want to enjoy it, a celebration, and you're just doomed with like a food rule. And in the moment, it's hard. And I think, that's why Claudia and I love working with you women, because we're sitting here listening to your stories and experiences, not going, oh, just eat cake, because we know it's not like that. Like, we understand. And that's why we're here to hold your hand through it and go, you know what, this is stressful and it's scary. And sometimes it's hard to witness and walk through, but we're here to walk you through it. Like, that's why we're here. And any kind of strategy that we create for you, because honestly, ladies, there is so many strategies. Like, if you've heard the basic, write a list down, or exposure therapy, or let someone choose your order, or just have a bite, don't have the whole thing. They're really common ones, but there is so many more. And that's where the one-on-one side of things really helps. And Claudia, you'd know this, because once we get to know what the rule is, what the fear is, why it's there, how you feel about it, then we can personally create an environment that's going to allow you to just nudge that fear until it's not there anymore. But like, it feels like a closed box, like you're stuck here, and you're not. There's actually so many wonderful things that can help you through. And I'm going to stop talking, Claudia, because I get excited and I get carried away. But
it was
there's
also
always
beautiful and so
something.
wise. Absolutely. And also, when you're part of the program, it's not that you just join the program and it's all online, self-paced. You actually get to talk to Jade and I. And as Jade said, as you said, sorry, why am I talking in third person? There are so many things that can actually be done, and so many ways to dismantle disorder behaviors. But you don't know which one is the right one for you, which is why most of the time it's very important to do it in a safe environment with an expert. And we are experts on the fields because not only we have experienced it for a very long time, but also because we have helped hundreds of women to overcome all of this. And so something that basically I wanted to say is, if you're listening, get help, because you shouldn't really feel that you shouldn't feel these feelings. You shouldn't feel scared. I mean, yeah, it's obviously you should feel scared because it's quite scary, but you shouldn't be doing it alone. That's the only message that I'm basically trying to get across, because challenging the fear foods can be quite overwhelming. And it's not only about ice cream, pizza, and all the fun foods.
No.
I'm working with women that can't even have kale or like green veggies. And plus, if you're thinking, yeah, but I don't want to eat the junk food, I don't want to eat the fun foods and all of that, I'm very happy with just following a healthy diet. Well, let's discuss that, because maybe there is something behind you wanting just to follow a healthy diet. And if you look at the rest of your life, I'm pretty sure that you want freedom to enjoy a party, freedom to enjoy your son, your daughter birthday cake, freedom of not having to think about food.
And also, like, wasn't that just us, Claudia? I mean, we started off in a place where it was based on healthy choices. Like, we wanted to live well and have this great body, and it was inspired by health. Like, just what you said about, you feel sitting here listening going, yeah, but I love choosing the foods I choose because they're good for me and I feel good. Sometimes it feels like a very perfect environment, and it's not until we look into it that we go, oh, wait, there's actually a bit of baggage there, which is why I loved you said just acknowledging things, because sometimes there's so much more there that we have no idea of until we start to explore.
And also, you mentioned before that it comes from a place of love because you want the best for your body, but it's also come from a place of controlling our body because we don't think that we are good enough. And if we don't follow the perfect diet, and if we don't exercise, and if we're not the fit one, when our identity goes away, which is why we're using food rules and we have fear foods, because once again, there is that disconnection. I don't trust my body. I need rules. And even though I think that I'm doing the best for myself, I'm actually putting myself in a very small box.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All righty, my love. I think that as usual, we have talked a lot because we love doing that, and I'm trying to keep this video short and sweet. Would you like to add anything?
Oh my goodness, that's a dangerous question, Claudia, because once I start talking, I can't stop. No, just honestly, if you've listened to this and you've got a list of rules, as Claudia said, the first place to start is just recognizing them and knowing that if you feel a whole lot of apprehension about something, that's not a reason to run away from it. Instead, it's a reason to be creative about how you can feel inspired to move forward. I guess one thing that does make me sad about the journey is sometimes women get told that there's only this really aggressive way to get over your food fears, which is literally just eat it. And for most of us, that's terrifying. And that's not an option. And it makes me sad to think that some women give up or just feel like there's no hope because of that one piece of advice, because first-hand experience with ourselves, like we've talked about this ourselves, haven't we, Claudia? And we've spoken to clients, and you don't have to feel like there's only one way. You don't have to feel like it's got to be a terrifying experience. And honestly, if you're sitting here listening to this going, oh, I really want help, but I can't let you know what I do. Like, what I do is disgraceful. It's upsetting. I'm disgusted with myself. You'll be disgusted with me. I promise you, there is nothing you can say that is going to make us think that way about you at all. So please, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to feel horrible about it. Just, you can do it. You can do it.
100%. My emotional Jade is back. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Sorry,
This,
Claudia. It's the full moon again.
No, it's the full moon. But you actually hit the nail in the head, because I actually saw a post before I jump on this conversation, and someone from a very beautiful place said, just do it. Like, fine, but of course I can just do it. I can't just go out there and run a marathon, but that doesn't mean that I know how. That doesn't mean that I want to. That doesn't mean that it scares me. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to get injured. And I had this beautiful client that started with me a few weeks back. And then we had a conversation yesterday, and she said, Claudia, I don't know if I will ever recover. I don't think that I'm really progressing. And then we just break it down, and we realized that when we started working together, she didn't have breakfast. She would allow herself only a salad for lunch, and she never tried a fun food for the past 10 plus years. And now she's having 3 consistent meals every day. She doesn't have only a salad for lunch, and on the weekend she share a dessert with her son. So what I'm trying to say, you can choose your pace. You don't have to just do it, but you also need to look at the long term. You want to make sure that your life in the long term is the life that you want. You can choose the life that you want. And maybe for some of you, you're not ready to go all in, and it's gonna take you a little bit longer, and that's okay.
Yes.
I took the scenic route. I took the long way, but it paid off, and I enjoyed the ride. Sometimes it was a little bit hilly, a little bit bumpy, but I
sometimes
really
you go in circles.
Exactly. But sometimes I got lost, but I really got in touch with myself. And that's what I'm trying to do also with the people that I work with. And Jade, you are on the same page. It's not only about, okay, you just need to have breakfast, do it, go, see ya. Let's make that happen together. Okay. So I think that we have shared so much this morning, Jade. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I know that you have your beautiful daughter to go and take to school, and me as well. Yeah. So let's do this again very soon. And obviously, for all of us listening, I am Claudia and Jade Cameron from the It's a Mind Game podcast. So if you have not listened to her podcast, just please make sure that you jump on it. And if you want more information on our program, simply send us a DM, just drop a comment below, and we will take care of the rest.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you.
Exactly. Bye, Jade.
Bye.